Good evening, it's 6 p.m. Cairo local time and you're now watching Qnews. As we observe the one-year anniversary of the conflict in Gaza, tonight's special coverage will center on Egypt's pivotal role amid the ongoing hostilities. This year of conflict has not only inflicted tremendous suffering on the people of Gaza, but has also altered regional dynamics, prompting Egypt to step in as a mediator and humanitarian supporter. Egypt's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration, Badr Abdel-Ati, has spoken with his British counterpart, David Lammy, about the ongoing conflict in Gaza. This conversation is part of Egypt's efforts to de-escalate tensions in the region and prevent a broader conflict. Abdel-Ati condemned the ongoing Israeli aggression in both Gaza and the West Bank, emphasizing the urgent need for a ceasefire. He called for an increased pressure on Israel to allow humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. Additionally, he expressed Egypt's opposition to Israel's military presence in the Philadelphia corridor and the Palestinian side of the Rafah crossing. As the war in Gaza enters its second year, Egypt continues to play a pivotal role in mediating peace efforts while providing crucial humanitarian assistance. The country has been instrumental in brokering ceasefires and facilitating negotiations, all while ensuring aid reaches those in desperate need. From diplomatic efforts to humanitarian missions, Egypt's leadership has been vital in addressing the ongoing crisis. We will now examine Egypt's key role in mediation and its significant contributions to relief efforts in Gaza.
Egypt has reinforced its vital role as a steadfast mediator in the ongoing Gaza conflict, determined to halt Israel's aggressive offensive and prevent further escalation. Since the war began on October 7th, Cairo has remained resolute in condemning Israel's attempts to displace Palestinians and has tirelessly advocated for peace.
احنا تكلمنا باستفاضة كبيرة جدا عن الأوضاع في غزة وأهمية الوصول إلى وقف لإطلاق النار وإيجاد آلية لإدخال مزيد من المساعدات.
As a traditional mediator in the Israel-Palestine conflict, Egypt's efforts to broker ceasefire are grounded in a history of diplomatic success. Its crucial intervention during 2021 Israeli offensive on Gaza secured a truce, underscoring Cairo's influence in regional peace efforts. Today, Egypt continues to push for an end to the bloodshed, while actively facilitating humanitarian aid to Gaza through the Rafah border, the only lifeline for Palestinians under siege. Egypt's diplomatic leadership was on full display at the Cairo Summit for Peace, convened in October amid growing violence. Gathering representatives from over 30 countries, the summit marked a significant international effort to de-escalate the war, with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi reaffirming Egypt's unwavering stance on bringing an end to the conflict. The summit highlighted Cairo's determination to maintain regional stability while working closely with global powers to ensure that peace remains the priority. Egypt played a critical role in holding numerous rounds of talks between the parties to negotiate a ceasefire. The Egyptian state, alongside Qatar and the United States, facilitated discussions that led to a significant detainee exchange deal between Israel and Hamas. Despite the ongoing complexities of the conflict, Egypt-brokered negotiations have shown promise, with signs that differences in the ceasefire talks are narrowing.
No solution can work without full engagement and support by Egypt. And I thank you for all your efforts.
Beyond diplomacy, Egypt's humanitarian efforts have been monumental. The country has dispatched large aid convoys, delivering essential supplies such as food, water, and medical aid to war-torn Gaza. Egypt has also provided critical medical care, treating hundreds of wounded Gazans who crossed the border seeking refuge. Egypt remains committed to its role as a mediator and humanitarian provider. Its refusal to allow Israel to forcibly displace Palestinians has earned its respect across the world, while its diplomatic efforts underscore its position as a key peace broker. Egypt's unique geographic proximity to Gaza and its deep-rooted political ties make it the essential actor in ensuring that any peace agreement is sustainable. As the conflict rages on, Egypt stands as the voice of reason, balancing diplomacy and humanitarian assistance while continuing to lead efforts toward a long-term resolution for Gaza.
For further analysis on the current situation in Gaza, we're joined by the researcher in international affairs, Bashir Abdel Fattah, to talk about Egypt's pivotal role during this year. Mr. Bashir, welcome to Q News. We're glad to have you with us to know your inputs on the matter. So let me first start by asking you, what makes Egypt's position as a mediator to reach a ceasefire unique in this context compared to other regional or international actors?
Good evening, Selma, and thank you for having me. We can say that the vital role of Egypt in the Gaza crisis reflected in two parallel tracks. The first track was a political and a diplomatical one. Egypt tried from day one of the crisis to mediate between the Palestinians and the Israelis in order to reach an agreement for ceasefire and reconstruction, humanitarian assistance into Gaza, and then resume the diplomatic negotiations in order to reach a Palestinian state on the 1967 borders, and the capital city is Eastern Jerusalem. This is the diplomatic and the political track. The other track was humanitarian one. Egypt from day one was keen on reflecting all and delivering all the humanitarian assistance into Gaza Strip again across Rafah crossing point. And all the time, Egypt delivered tons, hundreds of tons of assistance, medical and food into Gaza Strip from Egypt and from the outside world. So I think through the humanitarian and the diplomatic mediation, Egypt played a vital role in order to reduce escalation in Gaza and putting an end to this dilemma.
Yeah, so in terms of humanitarian aid, that's what I would like to build upon. Egypt has been one of the main channels for delivering supplies to Gaza, like you've mentioned. How effective has this aid been in alleviating the dire conditions in the region?
Sure, it played a very significant role in that sense. But the crisis was bigger than all the efforts of the international community and the Egyptian role. That's because Israel, as you know, practiced war crimes, and all the time they used their power in order to eliminate Gaza Strip inhabitants, because Netanyahu is trying to delete the idea of the Palestinian state. So he used his military power in order to put an end to this dream. But Egypt, in the same time, tries all the time to revive this choice for the Palestinians and for the international community, because there is a doctrine in the Egyptian strategic thinking that the Palestinian issue is the root of all evils in Middle East and the entire world. People will never feel peace either in Israel or in the Arab territory without the Palestinian state. So all the time, Egypt was concentrating on the humanitarian assistance, in the same time putting the pressures on the UN and the Arab League, and also the Israeli side to resume negotiations for the Palestinian state.
Now, let's examine the obstacles. What obstacles is Egypt facing in ensuring that aid reaches Gazans, and how has the international community responded to these challenges from your point of view?
The greatest obstacle that was all the time the Israelis. All the time they insisted on closing the Palestinian side of the Rafah crossing point. And also, don't forget the very bad rule of the settlement inhabitants. They all the time try to deteriorate the assistance and the humanitarian efforts of Egypt and the entire world. They try to use starvation as a weapon in the war, which is condemned by the United Nations and the International Food Program. All the time, the Israelis insisted on using starvation as a weapon. Egypt all the time insisted on stop this strategy of the Israelis through use Al Arish airport in order to receive the humanitarian assistance from the entire world, and also tries to create solutions to the barriers and the borders escalation from the Israelis.
That was the researcher in international affairs, Bashir Abdel Fattah. Thank you so much for your fruitful insights. The National Alliance for Developmental and Charitable Work, along with the Life is Beautiful initiative, has played a significant role in supporting Egypt's efforts to alleviate the suffering of the people in Gaza. The National Alliance has launched 7 relief convoys to provide essential aid, including food, medical supplies, and equipment, in response to calls from the political leadership. This initiative, carried out in cooperation with civil society organizations, has shown solidarity with the Palestinian people since the conflict began on October 7, 2023. Under President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's directives, the convoys are loaded with substantial humanitarian assistance, including doctors of various specialties. As the conflict in Gaza continues into its second year, the Egyptian Red Crescent has ramped up its efforts to provide critical aid to those affected by the ongoing violence. With countless lives disrupted and a dire humanitarian crisis unfolding, the organization has been at the forefront of delivering essential medical assistance and supplies to the injured.
The ongoing conflict in Gaza starkly highlights the persistent intransigence of Israeli policy, characterized by a prioritization of military action over humanitarian needs. This rigidity has led to devastating consequences for civilians, exacerbating an already dire humanitarian crisis, with the Israeli army frequently blocking aid convoys intended for Palestinians. The image of stranded trucks and waiting drivers has become all too familiar. In this context, the Egyptian Red Crescent Society has emerged as a vital lifeline for the affected populations in Gaza. The organization has taken on a formidable role in managing the logistics of humanitarian assistance, facilitating the delivery of food, medical supplies, and essential care amidst overwhelming challenges. With volunteers stationed at the border, the ERCS has provided immediate support to drivers and others caught in the waiting dilemma, offering food and basic medical care. Their commitment to humanitarian principles ensures that aid reaches those in need, regardless of the political complexities surrounding the conflict. The ERCS has also been instrumental in coordinating aid from various international humanitarian agencies, overcoming Israeli intransigence to facilitate the safe entry of relief supplies into Gaza. Operating out of El Arish, the last Egyptian town before the Rafah crossing, volunteers worked tirelessly in the organization's logistics warehouse, managing the flow of aid through sweltering heat and biting cold. This dedication ensures that assistance not only arrives but is also effectively distributed, demonstrating the organization's capacity to handle complex logistics under pressure. In addition to coordinating supplies, the Egyptian Red Crescent has played a crucial role in facilitating the medical treatment of the Palestinian patients with serious health in North Sinai Governorate. The Egyptian government has allowed thousands of these individuals and their families to cross the border for urgent care. This multifaceted approach underscores the organization's commitment to alleviating suffering, showcasing the critical role it plays in the humanitarian landscape amid ongoing violence. While the situation in Gaza remains bleak, the unwavering support of the Egyptian Red Crescent serves as a beacon of hope. Their resilience and proactive engagement stand in stark contrast to the political stalemates that hinder peace efforts. The ERCS not only addresses immediate humanitarian needs, but also reinforces the importance of compassion and solidarity in the face of adversity.
This brings our special coverage to a close for this hour. Remember to stay updated by following Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Q News AG for the latest developments.